The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Maynard Bangs presiding. Your eyes for the Honorable Judge Bangs.
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we are hearing the case of The People versus Last Action Hero, a 1993 action comedy that follows a boy who, via a magic ticket, enters the movie world of hero cop Jack Slater, where they team up to fight evil in the movie and in the real world. Ooh. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are to be considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Today, I get to don the Planet Hollywood crown. I have prosecuted Sylvester Stallone. I have defended and prosecuted Bruce Willis. And now I get to prosecute the biggest of them all, the head honcho, the big cheese, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know what everyone is thinking. Schlenzo, prosecuting an Arnie movie?
Prosecuting an Arnie movie?
Well, yes. I love Arnie so much, it falls to me to point out his stumbles, his failures, to acknowledge what is bad in his catalog, so that which is so good can shine all the more. The Last Action Hero. Let's look at this. The deficiencies are numerous. Arnie is not equipped for a role like this. And coupled with the bad acting choices from, let's face it, the kid, we are not satisfied with our main characters. The conflicting tones should actually work for this premise, but they do not. We struggle to feel an impactful difference between the quote-unquote real world and the fake movie world. And lastly, just as a matter of construction and technical achievement, there's nothing there. It feels bloated and unedited. So what are we to do with this? Well, what happens every so often, the barbarians come to the gate wielding their Rotten Tomato scores of 40% and saying, actually, this is the best Arnie movie. Actually, it was ahead of its time. Actually, nothing. Just because a movie is going to be reevaluated does not mean it needs to be resuscitated. We got it right in 93, and we'll get it right in 2023 and 2026, which happens to be the year we're discussing right now. Thank you.
An important
Did we get it right in 2023?
We might have. I'm going to review the footage.
Time is wimbly wobbly around here. Hard to know. Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Mr. Robin Warder. Please present your opening statement.
Well, Last Action Hero is often cited as one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history. It came out in 1993 and was the follow-up after Arnold Schwarzenegger had one of the biggest hits of all time, Terminator 2: Judgment Day. So there's a lot of hype surrounding this one, but unfortunately for the film, it was released in theaters the weekend after Jurassic Park. So it got completely overshadowed and was both a commercial and critical bust. But I remember watching it on home video back at the time and really liking it and being very entertained by it. And even though I could acknowledge that there were some flaws, I felt that people didn't really give this movie a chance and that were probably maybe interpreting the wrong way, that maybe they thought it was going to be more a straightforward Arnold Schwarzenegger action vehicle and missed some of the satire in it. But this is cited as one of those films that was a flop at the time, but has built up a cult following over the years. And I know that whenever I've revisited it, most people I know have liked it. They say that it's one of those movies which still has its rough edges, but has gotten better with age, that maybe it was just too ahead of its time, that if it had come out at a better time a couple years later, people would have been able to appreciate it. But as I gotten older and watched more action movies and gotten more familiar with the tropes and cliches of the genre, I just find Last Action Hero to be very, very clever. And I can rewatch it multiple times and see things that I missed the first time around. And I think it's a load of fun and one that definitely deserves to be revisited.
Thank you. Mr. Schlender, you may present your first exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have to start with the man himself. It all comes down to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, not all of it, but a big chunk of it does. Arnie had his hands all over this project. He was essentially the executive producer. I don't know if he was officially or not, but he basically was. My point being, Arnie wanted this to be a vehicle for him. It was supposed to show his softer side, as if Kindergarten Cop didn't do that already. But as Robin had already pointed out, this was his big follow-up to Terminator 2. This was the time to pivot. No, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that after your biggest success? Follow on. Ultimately, he learned his lesson because the movie he would do after this, True Lies, with Jimmy Cameron, tremendous return to form, and a movie that will never be in danger of being prosecuted here. I say that very confidently. My point being,
put on the schedule.
There's a case in my head right now for it.
Honestly, I probably could make a pretty good case too. But my point being,
half those lies weren't even true.
Well, and then you got Tom Arnold. It's a rich tapestry, many meats in Arnie's cultural stew, as it were. But my point is, when you look at the character of Jack Slater, this isn't an Arnie character. Do you guys know how many times Arnold Schwarzenegger had played a cop in movies previously to this? I already gave you one. I gave you Kindergarten Cop. But obviously, that's not an action movie. The other two are Red Heat and Raw Deal. Not the biggest Arnie movies. You know what the biggest Arnie movies were? They were the other John McTiernan-directed film, Predator. They were Commando. And you know what those have in common? He's a commando. He's a one-man wrecking crew army. He's not a Dirty Harry style cop. So right from the jump, the conception of Jack Slater doesn't jive with Arnie's persona, even though we do see him do some larger than life things. He has the big gun. But again, that's all Dirty Harry. That's not Arnie. So we already have this clash going into it. If this was a movie about a boy who got exploded into like Commando, I think there's a lot more meat on the bone here. But Arnie doesn't know how to navigate a Dirty Harry-esque character.
Mr. Warder, is Arnie kind of lost in the sauce here?
I don't think so. I think this is one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger performances just because of how self-deprecating it was, that he just has no qualms whatsoever poking fun of his screen image. And you might think that might be a brave choice after Terminator 2, where obviously Arnold had established a formula, people wanted to see him. But he's also one of the more self-aware celebrities that I've ever seen who has no qualms about poking fun of himself. And some of the most enjoyable aspects of this is when the character of Jack Slater has to enter the real world for the first time after living in the movie world his entire life and finding out that everything is different, and then having like a very hard time adjusting, where he would do stuff like punch out a window of a car and then realize that it actually hurts, unlike the movie world. And it climaxes with him at a very meta thing going to the premiere of the latest Jack Slater movie, where he has an encounter with the real Arnold Schwarzenegger, who kind of like makes himself out to be like this pretentious guy who's like going on the red carpet and making all these opportunities to like plug Planet Hollywood and stuff like that. And you kind of see the Jack Slater, who's a fictional character, finding out how hurtful it is that this guy here has pretty much made his living off of him, and that he's not a real person, and that he even says to Arnold at one point, "You brought me nothing but pain." And I just love the way that he kind of has a hard time adjusting to like the real world and trying to maintain his action persona. And one of the most goofy moments is where he tries to come up with a new one-liner, and he says, "You know how some people say, go ahead, make my day, I'm your worst nightmare? Well, how about this one? rubber baby buggy bumpers. And it's just such a weird thing that most movie stars would not be willing to do something like that and poke fun of their whole persona. And that's why I pretty much love his work in this. Just the fact that he was willing to like take his whole larger than life persona and pretty much skewer it.
I have
Your Honor, I want to put
a bunker is going to be Ryan Luis Rodriguez's nickname. But...
No. I want something a little more.
Not too late.
Well, that's true. So I want to put a pin in some of the things that Robin brought up because they're worth discussing, and I have a larger point about how Jack Slater is reacting to the real world. And I'll give him a little bit of credit. Arnie playing himself at the premiere is one of the funnier things in the movie when Maria Shriver clearly says, "Don't plug the restaurant." It's the first thing he does. He's like, we could use you to open the supermarkets. And anywho,
was the film ever considered with someone else as the lead, or was it like always?
No. This was basically tailored. This was basically tailored for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Actually, there's a very rich production history, Your Honor. Just by a quick way of explanation, it was a very hot script in Hollywood when it got put out there by like Zach Penn, Shane Black got attached to it, and it went through revision after revision after revision after revision. And Arnie really wanted to do it because, again, he thought this would be the pivot his career needed. Obviously, he ended up being very wrong on that, regardless of the merits of the movie, which is what we're here to determine today. But I want to get back to the other side of this coin, talking about Arnie's deficiencies as Jack Slater. We got to look at the kid. This is not a strong performance, and you're kind of left wondering why. And as we do look through this troubled production history and all the rewrites, Danny was originally conceived to be kind of a scrappy older teenager. It was originally envisioned to be about 17 years old, but when the mandate came down that this had to be a PG-13 blockbuster, they turn him into like this aw shucks garly kind of kid, like he's like just always like putting his fist up in the air going and which Shane Black absolutely hated. He's been on record saying that a few times, but my point being, this kid isn't able to keep up with Arnie such as it is. He's not able to match the presence that we see of like against F. Murray Abraham. He can't even keep up with a cartoon cat voiced by Danny DeVito. So it's a little, when you're watching it, it's like just a little too, he's just a little too cookie cutter kidified. Not to mention the fact that he gets mugged in his own house and he goes to the cops and they're like, yeah, walk home. The mom doesn't come get him. Like this goes into some of the construction problems that we have with just what we see on the screen. But my point to really drive home is like, this is just not a strong child actor. It's not really a kid that we can relate to or see the movie through. He doesn't serve as a good stand-in for the audience. And that really hurts a movie that's supposed to be at this meta level. We need to be able to be in the movie. So when we get transported into the movie world, in the real world, we actually feel that transition. But we can't because the kid's acting like an annoying movie brat, even in the quote unquote real world, and especially in the movie world. There's just not enough difference there because he's just not strong enough to convey it.
Mr. Warder, is this kid a real brat?
Well, he's not my favorite child actor of all time. He's played by a guy named Austin O'Brien, who did not exactly go on to have a stellar career. But it's one of these movies. There are a lot of movies like this in my childhood where, as I get older, I recognize that, yes, this character is pretty annoying. But at the time I watched this, I did not feel that way. I would only been like a couple years older than the character of Danny at the time. And I pretty much was kind of like this character. I was someone who had just gotten interested in action movies, wanted to spend all my spare time watching them, and found it a lot more interesting than stuff like school. Like, there's a great scene in this where he's trying to watch the old version of Hamlet in class and then has a fantasy of a Hamlet action movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is an amazing fake trailer that's almost worth the price of the admission itself, even if you don't like the movie. And it's like, I can totally identify with that. And the fact that he'll just sneak away and go to this rundown movie theater in Times Square to watch screenings of the movie with this projectionist, this weird old man played by Robert Prosky. And then he suddenly gets this golden ticket and winds up being sucked into the movie and is kind of blown away to like see all this stuff up close that he is idolized seeing there on screen. So yeah, at the time I originally watched this in the early 90s, I thought that was just such a cool idea of what it would be like to be a kid, to be a fan of a movie, and then be sucked in the movie, and then realize that, oh, your life might be in danger here. There's a fun poking fun of the cliche where he's realizing, oh, I'm not going to get killed off here because I'm the good guy, so I'm completely safe. And then in the middle of a chase scene, he goes, wait, I'm a comedic sidekick. I'm a comedic sidekick. It's not going to work. And then realizes that he's expendable and he might be killed. Like, I love little moments like that. But I do acknowledge, though, that if you're a movie critic, if you're an older adult watching it for the first time, then you might not like this kid too much. But watching it from the point of view of the target audience, the PG-13 audience, I think it does work pretty well, even though Austin O'Brien, I can acknowledge, is not the best actor.
You know, I'm just going to go ahead and say it too, this idea, like, I'm a comedic sidekick, then to proceed to do nothing funny for the rest of the movie. It's remarkable, really. So, you know, it is a shame too. So I guess those were my main points about the cast. We can't talk about, like, absolutely wasting Anthony Quinn. I mean, like, there's just so much. This movie is very bloated. It's over 2 hours. It feels like it wasn't edited very well because, point of fact, it was not edited well, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I want to talk about the conflicting tones, and it's really the main conceit of this movie is that there's the real world, quote unquote, and then the movie world. The only problem is it just doesn't, it's not oil and water enough. I mean, the kid gets into the movie by being exploded by dynamite. I mean, he's dead. You know what I mean? like it's too close. You know, so like there's the real world for you. But that's the problem. Let's focus on some of the things that happen in the real world, and then we can look at stuff that happens in the movie world. Because the movie world, anything can happen, and you could just say, oh well, it's a movie, you know. But the point of this is to really draw that distinction between, hey, this is real life, but everything that happens in the real world plays out exactly how you would expect a movie to play out. Yeah, you have Arnie have a few lines saying like, oh, that hurt, you know, like breaking the window, but his hand's not all cut up. You know, you have him fall down. He doesn't get a concussion or anything like that. You know, he seemingly still doesn't need to sleep. You know, he knows exactly where the bad guy is going to be. He gets shot in the chest and lives a remarkably long time for the caliber of gun that Charles Dance's character was using. Never mind surviving the head explosion of Charles Dance at that range. I think we've all seen enough Deadliest Warrior to know that what kills you from a lot of these explosions isn't the blast or the shrapnel, it's the shock wave. So everything that's happening in the real world still very much feels like we're watching a movie. I mean, like, he's hanging from that wet gargoyle, not slipping. I mean, you know, so we don't get enough of a difference, and it just makes the movie feel all the more long, because when we're in the movie world, it is kind of moving at a movie clip. It's not doing anything special or dynamic, really. But then when Charles Dance realizes that he can go out into the real world, that should be the turn. That should be, ooh, now things are going to get interesting. But it feels the second half of the movie, or the second part, I should say, it's not necessarily the half, when Charles Dance goes into the real world and then Arnie and the kid have to go into the real world, it feels like it's still all of one piece of a movie that you're watching.
All right. Mr. Schlender, I'll remind you that Deadliest Warrior hasn't been on TV for 15 years, so very familiar.
Nor was it on at the time of this movie.
That's just where I learned that explosions were dangerous. It took a long time.
Really? I knew immediately. In fact, cartoons taught me that explosions were dangerous.
And that you could survive them, though. The Roadrunner and the Coyote, they're fine.
No, your bill turns around. It's very harmful. Mr. Warder, is the real world real enough for us in this movie? Do they create enough contrast?
I will admit that that is probably the biggest flaw of the movie, the climax, because it just doesn't go far enough to try to differentiate. Because some of the scenes after they go into the real world, the earliest ones, are great. My favorite one is when Charles Dance goes and shoots a random person on the streets of New York and is shocked that no one is reacting and is literally yelling, "Hello, I've shot somebody and I did it on purpose. I have murdered a man and I want to confess." And then some random guy in the apartment yells, "Hey, shut up down there." That's one of the biggest laughs in the movie. But and they also go in the right direction when they have the whole premiere where they have like the Arnold Schwarzenegger appearing as himself, and there's some great meta moments where they cast Tom Noonan as a movie villain called the Ripper, and he shows up there to kill Jack Slater, and then people assume that it's Tom Noonan, the real life actor, showing up to the premiere in costume, and then a few minutes later the real Tom Noonan shows up in a tuxedo. So I love that meta stuff, but I just don't think they went far enough with it. And I do think that the biggest flaw is the final climax where they are doing a lot of the same cliches that they acknowledged earlier in the movie, because this is one of the first movies I ever saw where they finally acknowledged that these stupid villains like to talk too much instead of just pulling the trigger and killing someone, and that's their downfall. And then they do have Charles Dance do the exact same thing again, where instead of just killing Jack Slater, he talks a little bit, and that's why he gets killed. So I kind of think that this was the part where the movie should have had some more additional rewrites and tried to do something original. So
it did not need more rewrites. Oh,
yeah,
we'll
maybe that was the problem. Yeah, it had so many. I do know that this one, they were rushing it to get it out in theaters, so they probably like didn't have enough time to probably do the necessary polishing that they needed to get like a lot of these ideas more fully fleshed out. But yeah, like I said, it is a flawed movie, and that's what I think they should have done better. But I do think there are some good moments when they're trying to differentiate the movie world from the real world.
All right.
So, Your Honor, let's talk about some of the construction and issues that were with this movie, with the writing, the editing, the release. There was a very, very well-sourced, well-documented series of articles on We Minored in Film about the oral history of The Last Action Hero, just replete with quotes from people involved in it. Shane Black saying it was a mess, or jarring random collections of scenes. John McTiernan, the director, saying the head of the studio couldn't decide whether this was an action movie or a kid's movie. I was getting pushed in a lot of directions. And then again, about the point of the editing. There are enormous sequences in this film that are literally how it just came out on my camera, not edited at all. This actually does very much feel like an assembly cut. Once I read that quote, I'm like, wow, yes, that's exactly what this is. That's why these scenes are so long and the dialogue so turgid, because they just didn't have a deft hand editing it. Now we're talking about all the rewrites it had gotten. As I had mentioned earlier, the original point of this was supposed to be kind of more action oriented, but Arnie put the kibosh on that. Everything was about what Arnie wanted. One of the studio execs said something to the effect of, "We could show Arnie on the toilet for an hour and make $150 million." You know, obviously that didn't end up.
I watched that.
Right? You know, and then Arnie himself has acknowledged the shortcomings of this movie. Now, it's not just enough to prove a movie's bad by saying the people around it didn't enjoy it or recognize the deficiencies, but it's very rare that we get the people making it talking about the technical problems that went wrong. Usually when we hear about stars not enjoying being on a movie, it's personality kind of things. But here we literally have the writers saying too many rewrites, too jumbled. We literally have the director saying not enough editing, not enough time, because as Robin pointed out, this was rushed, and rushed to compete with Jurassic Park, which has amazed everyone, because even they at the time realized, like, you know, there's a really good chance that this very, very popular novel, directed by the best director in the world, this could actually be a hit. You know, like Jurassic Park didn't take a lot of people by surprise. I'm just going to throw that out there for historical context. So when we're watching the movie, you can really feel all of this stuff. You can feel how it was rushed out, but rushing it out, making it move at this glacial pace, because there was just a complete lack of editing. Again, this movie's over 2 hours in 10 minutes, and it's not put together well. We have this central conceit of the real world versus the movie world that just isn't done well at all. I mean, they didn't even change like the film stock for when they're in the movie world, or do something like that to really symbolize the transition. I mean, you have Ian McKellen showing up as Death at the end, right? Like he comes out and like, but he still is Death, even though he's in the real world now too. So, like, what exactly are the rules here? One would seemingly undercut the other. You simply can't have it both ways. I don't think they wanted to. I think this is, again, just a product of all the tampering and retooling almost up until the day they were done shooting with this movie. And then just to really just cap it off, you know, your two main leads, Arnie and this kid, no chemistry. We know Arnie can work with kids too, right? We saw him in Kindergarten Cop. He was great. We saw him in Jingle All the Way, TBD. But my point is, I think if you look at Arnie with kids, Last Action Hero is going to be last on that list. And I will rest there, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Warder, you may present any exhibits you have remaining.
One thing I want to mention about Ian McKellen, that cameo always really confused me as a kid, because back then I think he was mostly a stage actor who had not done many movies. So I had no idea who he was at the time, though when people watch it for the first time today, they're like, what's the hell? Ian McKellen just showing up out of nowhere. So it is kind of a funny cameo that has gotten better with age, or more confusing with age, if you want to say that.
It's aged.
Yeah, it has.
They paid him exclusively in pizza.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I will say that some of the sloppy editing does work to its benefit in the movie within a movie, because I think that's kind of a funny meta thing there, is that they make it sound like the Jack Slater films are so popular that they come out like really, really quickly, because at the beginning, the kid Danny is watching Jack Slater 3 in a theater, and then he's told, by the way, Jack Slater 4 is premiering tomorrow night. So it kind of gives you the impression that they kind of rush these out, and that the editing is very sloppy, and that the action scenes are kind of sloppy, which kind of works to the movie's advantage in the movie.
Well, I've got to object. I got to object, because that's a post hoc reading that you're doing, Robin, because the fact of the matter is we have the people who actually made this movie on record saying it was far too rushed and far too edited. That wasn't a meta decision. If you want to read that into it now, I don't think the jury's going to buy that. I don't think it works, but it definitely was not a conscious decision. It was definitely not a conscious decision that is supported by the facts on the case, Your Honor.
We will see what the jury thinks of it.
Well, I mean, if the jury wants to make stuff up, they're welcome to it, I suppose.
They sure are.
Wouldn't be the first time. No,
that's true.
Well, even if it wasn't intentional, there are some moments in there that it works in the movie's favor. Like, I really love how they just go as absurd as possible in some of the action scenes, like one where he shoots a bad guy and then he falls onto an ice cream truck and it explodes, and then the ice cream cone comes out and kills the guy in the neck, and Arnold says, "Ice that guy," to coin the phrase. So I love how they're just going to the 11th degree, trying to make it as tacky as possible. But I still think that with all its flaws, this is kind of like a nirvana for action movie buffs, just the way that they acknowledge like all the cliches and put all the little in-jokes there. And that's the thing, is that there just weren't a lot of movies back then that were doing this kind of stuff. And I remember one gag that I liked is the casting of Frank McRae as the police captain, because I had seen the movie 48 Hours, like very shortly before I saw Last Action Hero, and he did one of the all-time great angry police captain tirades. And what was funny is that in the span of 1 year, they had two satires, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon and Last Action Hero, where they cast him as like the angry police captain. And there's like an hilarious scene here where he gets so mad that smoke comes out of his ear and he starts yelling incoherent gibberish. So it's kind of those fun things where some people objected that they got Shane Black to do rewrites on the script, because they were kind of lampooning the type of movies that Shane Black used to write back then. And then they're getting the guy who to do rewrites on the script itself. But I think he did a good job at like pointing out like a lot of the fun cliches there, like the talking killer and stuff like that. So yeah, it's one of those ones where the finished product is just kind of like a little ramshackle mess there, and it has its problems, but there are some great ideas in there. And when you're like an action fan watching this for the first time as a kid, and you have a character that's pretty much in your shoes, playing like the kid who like loves watching these action movies. It's pretty much Nirvana for you, and that's why I really liked this one at the time.
So I think there's a few things we can talk about here as far as how successful this is as a satire. I don't think you can go as far to say parody, but you could definitely say satire. And that was something, too, that the creatives in this film were talking about. I think it was Shane Black who said in that same interview that, he was too close to the genre. Jean McTiernan was too close to the genre. He said someone like John Landis would have been able to pull it off, was the example he had. Well, I'm just saying what he said. Okay? Maybe the Zucker brothers could have pulled it off.
Okay,
I'll take.
now you got me.
Thank you. I like The Naked Gun way more than The Last Action Hero for reasons that it should be manifestly obvious, I would hope. But just again to put a point, just a fine point on it, is like this. Just you're talking about the angry cop, like the blowing the smokestack detective here on the detective. That's just not Arnie's genre, though. It's just seeing Arnie sit there getting yelled at by a police captain. Like this needed to be Commando, not Dirty Harry, if it was going to work. And the creatives were just too close to the genre to really get it over the goal line.
Well, I think it would satirize a wide variety of movies. Like it didn't just do like the Arnold larger than life action things, but it also did the cop things, because it obviously did a lot of cliches from Lethal Weapon and whatnot. But I thought it was kind of a nice opportunity to get Arnold out of his comfort zone and put him in a different type of action film that he's ordinarily not doing. But I do agree, though, that sometimes the best parodies or satires are done by people who've never worked in the genre, because I pretty much think that the gold standard of action movie satires is Hot Fuzz, which was made by guys who clearly loved action films, but had never actually directed or made one before. So they were able to like do a very well-structured script and put it together into like a fine package because they knew what they were doing.
And it's another movie that we've actually talked about in this courtroom before. Demolition Man, I think, handles a lot of the satire and commentary that if you were to really wring out The Last Action Hero, I think you could find it be more fruitfully in something like Demolition Man. And it has a better story wrapped around it that doesn't try to hit you over the head as much as Last Action Hero does.
Wring out its juices.
Yes,
satirical juices.
It's comedy juices. It's satirical parody juices. All sorts of juices. Your Honor.
Mr. Warder, anything before you rest?
I just want to quote probably my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger line in the movie, where they're driving around and Danny points to a house and says the bad guys are in there, and then just Arnold goes on a rant saying, "You don't understand. You just solved the entire case. You just revolutionized the entire history of police training. I mean, all these years at the academy, studying human character, psyche of the terrorists, fingerprint analysis, all the courses I've taken in surveillance, hostage negotiation, and criminal psychology, when all I have to do is drive around the neighborhood, point my finger at the house, and say, the bad guys are in there."
Well done.
Yeah, well done. Well done, Robin.
All sides
Save it for the interview.
The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Schlender, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a question. Why didn't they use the golden ticket to save Jack Slater's son? That seems like a great use for the golden ticket. I have lots of questions about this movie that it's not equipped to answer, because I believe at one time it was interested in answering them, but it became an unruly mess. Studio meddling, a director who couldn't get out of his own way, the ego of Arnold Schwarzenegger. We'd like to think about how self-deprecating and things he is now in his old age, but let me tell you something. Young Arnie took himself very seriously, and this failure of Last Action Hero affected him quite deeply. Lots of personal friends discussing about how he really shut down after this was depressed. Jimmy Cameron called him right away. Luckily, he was able to bounce back with True Lies. And it's with a heart full of love for Arnold Schwarzenegger, because I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's one of the reasons I work out. I mean, everything about Arnie is amazing. But he does have some duds. And this is one of them. And it's okay to find this one guilty, because if we find it guilty, It doesn't make Arnie weaker. It makes the other work he was in stronger. We let the people know that you should be sticking to Predator, The Running Man, Jingle All the Way. I'm going to try to slip that one in. Okay. Well, we got Phil Hartman in Jingle All the Way, Your Honor. That's got to count for something.
Well, coming this Christmas.
My point is, this was a miss. A miss for John McTiernan. Was it worse than Medicine Man? Yes. Maybe not. No one saw Medicine Man. So what are you gonna do? But that's my point. You have the greats. You put them all together. You give them all this money, but you can't edit them, and you rush them, and you get this mess. And it is a shame, because I believe there is a movie in here. There is an idea. There is a way this story works. But what we saw today on this film, there's no golden ticket to go in there and fix that, boys. That's what we've got, and it's guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Clearly you forgot about Sinbad the mailman.
Put that cookie down now.
Please
just had to do that.
Your closing argument. Your closing Schwarzenegger impersonation.
Well, I'm not going to do the entire final summation in my Schwarzenegger voice. That would be too much. But I'll try to defend the film.
It might be just enough.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's most underrated movies, and I think it's definitely the nostalgia talking, because I remember when it came out, people were just hyping this up as one of the worst movies ever, the biggest bombs, and then when I finally saw it on video, I really loved it, because it had everything I was looking for in a movie at that time, as someone who had fallen in love with Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, action movies, and this movie was just pointing out what we love, not only about action movies, but movies in general. And while, because of the rush production schedule and the need to get it out at summer for summer in 1993, it probably wasn't as polished as it should have been, and it is kind of a shame. But as the years have gone on, people have said that it has aged fairly well and hold it up better than some other blockbusters from that time period and other flops that came out, just because maybe it was a bit ahead of its time. Maybe the general public was just not ready to see like a summer blockbuster that totally lampooned the whole genre, where the biggest movie star in the world at that time was poking fun at his image and playing like a variation between a fictional character and a real version of himself. And it's just one of those movies that, as we watch it, the majority of my friends that I know defend it to the death. They love it, and think that if it had just come out at a different time period, if there had been more work done on it, if it had been more polished, it might have been looked upon as a classic. But even though it's flawed, I still think that compared to a lot of the latter day Arnold Schwarzenegger projects, it holds up a lot better than, say, Jingle All the Way and Junior and End of Days and Batman and Robin. So I wonder if people at the time, if they knew what kind of output Arnold was going to have later, would have treated this one much more lightly. But yeah, I still think that it deserves its cult following, and that even though it has kind of a bad reputation, that warts and all, it is definitely worth a watch, and it has a lot of good ideas and good stuff in it.
Collateral Damage was awesome.
Oh yeah, it wasn't that bad.
We'll try it in court. Thank you both. Members of the jury, Mr. Maynard Bangs, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, and Mr. No Sequel for You, Ryan Luis Rodriguez. You have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
Right this way? What would happen if you were to use the golden ticket to watch Skinnamarink, I wonder?
Oh, God.
It'd be a waste of a golden ticket, man.
I'm worried about what gets out.
Ugh, I don't like it.
Doors and windows, that's what gets out. Okay, guys. Last Action Hero. Definitely a movie. We all saw that. This is one of those movies that I was not allowed to see when it came out in theaters because it was PG-13, and my parents decided, well, you're not 13, so you can't go see it, but we'll take you to go see Jurassic Park anyway. And I had to get up and go to the bathroom 9 times. And my parents still think it's because I was scared.
You remember 9?
I had a full bladder. I had to get up 9 times. So I didn't experience this until like DVD. And the one thing that really stuck with me the first time I watched it was when we meet the cartoon cat. Why isn't the cartoon cat in the rest of the movie? because that's the best part of the entire picture.
No, I go the other way with it.
Where cartoon animals exist with human beings. I know it's not Roger Rabbit, but I wanted to see that cat pop up like every 30 minutes. Go, I got the dirt on this guy for you. Don't worry about it.
But that cat doesn't belong in the movie that they're filming. So he's like off screen, like off camera. So like, does that mean like all the movies like exist in this realm and yet somehow they're not like interacting with each other?
It's so messy. It's so stupid, but I love that idea. I love the idea that all movies converge in this like this central hub where if you go
Rick and Morty,
you'll see basically 18 different franchises coalescing into one. And then the second you leave, everything goes away. It's not as wacky as I would like it to be. And I'm sure Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I agree. Like if you're going to do it, you have to go all the way with it. You can't have one cat. Like if you're going to do that, you got to like go all the way, and they don't. So like I feel like they should pull it back a little bit and have no cartoon cats. But what do I know? It's a universe that gets created, right?
I mean, but I remember I did Last Action Hero for One Track Mind with my good friend. Shit, I forgot his name already.
Can't be that good.
Great friend.
Never mind. Cut all that stuff out about my very good friend.
Oh wow,
very good.
Because I've completely forgot his name. So my brain is not.
Ben Haslar. There it is.
My brain is not responding properly. But anyway, the commentary was with McTiernan clearly after he had gotten out of prison, so he was like really down and really like morose throughout the entire track, and you can hear the disappointment in his voice when he looks at the movie and thinks, oh, it could have been so much better here and here and here. And he points out to back up Dylan's oral history, he was extremely dissatisfied with this movie. Every single time that it could have gone wackier, he wished that he did, and he didn't. And so we have basically two movies at war here. We have the movie, the satire that is a movie within a movie, and then there's the satire of what happens when movies intersect with reality. And it doesn't necessarily know what movie it wants to be, and I think that's the biggest problem. But I have really a soft spot for it. So, Rob, you haven't said anything yet. What are you thinking?
I said a bunch. I just don't think Ryan can hear me. Can Ryan hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
You're very, very faint, but I can hear you.
I know. I gotta figure out why.
You're in that courthouse.
Well, I have to agree. This movie also left me dissatisfied. One, it wasn't much of a Christmas movie, despite being a Shane Black. And yeah, I agree. The kid actor was really bad. That was a great point by the prosecution. He was just very hard to watch for a whole movie. We're lucky that kid actors are so much better now than they were back in the 90s. There's like, at least that's one way film has definitely improved him. Almost every
There's Haley Joel Osment, and he's the only good kid actor.
No. There's all those Skinamarink kids. You loved them. I agree. This movie just doesn't go too far, and I think Ryan summed it up with that it's two movies kind of at conflict at once. You know, going into the movie is one story, having the movie come out into your world is a whole other, and they needed to really cartoon it up bigger or have really made the real world super gritty. I mean, if he had punched that window, like Schlenzo said, and then he had like glass in his hand and he had to go to the ER for 6 hours or something, like that would have been.
Yeah, but that Lopper guy's like getting electrocuted with like that very, very tropey way of doing things with like the, water going through the electricity going through the water on the roof. And it's like that wouldn't exist in the real world. I'm okay with Charles Dance, like, saying too many things because that's like built into his character and that would come with him into the real world. But everything else should be like the real world's physics that they need to come to understand. And Charles Dance should have gone further. He should have brought Dracula into the real world. He should have brought stormtroopers or something like that, or an army of themselves. That would have been awesome.
I thought he was going to be sitting having dinner with Dracula in that scene where he was coloring a Dracula.
It never happened. We were robbed. They bring us awesome. Ian McKellen's death, which isn't a real movie. Like, come on, he could have done something.
Right, exactly.
It is a real movie. It's a Seventh Seal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it? Okay, I guess I haven't seen it.
You meant Ian McKellen's not death in that movie, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And well, that's because you're not going to get the guy who played Death. He was probably dead by that point.
How ironic.
But they should have used like a real movie at that time, something else that would have been playing at that time, like Jurassic Park, like that was playing like the week before. If they could have got that and had a dinosaur come in, and then you'd have a good double feature going.
Well, it had to be. Guys, I found the guy's name.
Of who? Your friend from the
My
commentary? I think it's a little too late to stitch that back in at this point.
No, it's not. Not if we have a clean track.
So
my good friend Robert Yanis Jr. There you go. That's a clean track.
Maynard will stitch that right in seamlessly.
That section right there and stitch it back into the earlier section you discussed.
With everyone joking about it, yeah.
Right. All the
There's
people
plenty of dead air at
over
that
it.
point. You can get it in there.
Now I'm
I
keeping
know you. I
you
trust
not
you.
remembering your friend's name the whole time or cutting the whole thing. Those are the fun choices. Anyway, what do I think of the movie? Like I said, long too. Also, I didn't know it was going to be 2+ hours, and it felt it. And then I ate it the whole night. Way too long. So I do agree. There's some good premises here that have been done better by other things, other products later. If this had just gone more gutsy and big, it could be good. It's kind of straddling right now, but I think case to case, the prosecution said a lot of stuff I agreed with.
Okay, so are we locking it in?
Sure, I'll lock in first. Like I said, I think the prosecution swayed me more. I don't know this is a movie that I would never watch again, but I certainly wouldn't be eager to. It's going off a Schwarzenegger marathon. So I'm going to go guilty.
Ben?
Prosecution brought a good case. A lot of things I agreed with there. I also had only seen this movie as an adult, so I can't really put myself in the mind of what the target audience would have been, even though, I was next to some of those people who are aged appropriately for that. I had a cousin that was just like this kid who watched more R-rated movies that I wasn't allowed to because I was in a very Christian household that didn't allow us to watch such things, but he knew all the tropes. He talked about them endlessly and was probably very annoying about it, just like this kid. So I do think that there's some truth here, and like the idea is not a bad idea. I do wish that they could have stuck the landing. It is it but I don't know. Bad. It's not good. I'll go not guilty. But it really could have been good. And that's the trouble with some of these movies. It's like you're kind of judging it on what you want it to be instead of what it is. But yeah, I think it just barely slides by.
It's hard to hate a movie where you look at a poster of Terminator 2 and there's Stallone there instead because Arnold Schwarzenegger does not exist in the fictional universe. And the fact that Schwarzenegger thinks that the person who plays him's last name is Braunschweiger, I find that extremely, extremely amusing. So I'm going to go with my soul here, and I'm going to go not guilty.
Voting with soul.
So let's go tell that very handsome judge, if we can hear him.
That bastard. Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
What?
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of the People versus Last Action Hero, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie.
Yay! None of those jokes are going to make any sense at all once the editor dials Maynard up.
Sure. The verdict is so rendered. I hereby declare Last Action Hero free to go, so long as they give Arnie and Danny DeVito Cat their own movie. Court is adjourned.
There it is.
Yeah, but it needs to be in 1993. I don't want to see it now.
That's fine. It can be. They can do anything with de-aging now.
This is benediction. British accent. When you're British, you enunciate. Reporting to you live outside the Reels of Justice Courthouse. Robin Warder, I'm not such a bad guy. Once you get to know me, what were your thoughts on that jury's verdict?
Well, I've got the perfect quote from Charles Dance in Last Action Hero to apply to this verdict. In this world, the bad guys can win!
They can, yes. Good chap. Thank you very much, and I will shoot you, and no one will even notice. And here comes Dylan J. Schlender. Excuse me, could we get a thought on how you feel about that verdict?
Shout out to my good friend Robert Yanis Jr. I did the best I could, buddy.
Dylan knows his good friends.
You know what's funny is there was a period of time where I was one of the barbarians for this movie. Probably like in the early 2000s. I was an early adapter of like, hey, actually, this is actually pretty good. But let me tell you, having rewatched it again, it's not great. You know, like this is pretty bad. And Ben, to the juror, Ben, I appreciate that you had a friend who saw all these movies, but I could tell you that the kids at the time, I remember my good friend, not Robert Yanis Jr., but my good friend Ted Banks and I, when we were discussing this movie shortly after having seen it, about how much we just hated that kid and how annoying it was. So that was other kids. So that was the target audience. So, yeah. Look, though, Robin put up a very good defense, and it's a not guilty on Arnie movie. I'm really not going to lose sleep over it, you know. So there you go. Another one for the Barbarians. And I'll see you in the post show.
I wonder if I'm more Charles Dance or Christopher Lee. We'll leave that for the comments. And that's all the time we have at the courthouse. Let's return to the studio for post-trial analysis.
Count Dooku, ladies and gentlemen. Count Dooku.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, it became more Christopher Lee. I couldn't quite hear it in my voice.
Exactly. Hey.
That's still very refined.
Yeah, exactly. Not like anyone else here does a good accent for very long. But what's weird to me is like when they blip out Schwarzenegger, like, would there even be a Terminator franchise? You know, like, and it wouldn't be Stallone, right? Because
I didn't like that either. Like the 555 stuff, I love that bit. 555 works, but everything else, no.
Right? Yeah, there's some stuff that hits and some stuff that doesn't. But tremendous case. So, Robin, what's been keeping you busy? What have you been up to?
Well, it's a pretty exciting time for me. I'm going to be reaching the 10-year anniversary of The Trail Went Cold next month. So
nice, man!
All right, congratulations! And
can you spill what you're going to do?
God, it's such a top 5 podcast, too. Everyone out there really needs to listen to it.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes,
it's so good.
I'm going to be doing the Lindbergh baby kidnapping, which is a classic case that I've always wanted to
Grandpa
tackle.
Simpson.
Yeah, there we go.
Where?
And as a side note, not too long ago, I rewatched Ernest Goes to Camp, and there's a very random line in there where Ernest is getting a shot, and once he sees the needle, he gets so anxious that he says, "I did it! I took the Lindbergh baby! I am Dr. Joseph Mengele!" And those were jokes that completely went over my head when I was a kid, so did not expect to see a Lindbergh baby reference and a Joseph Mengele reference in an Ernest movie. So there you go.
Love that Robin's watching Ernest. So you're going to talk about the mystery of Ernest for your 10-year anniversary, or did I miss something? I didn't connect the right dots, did I? I'm sorry.
No, right. And as a wrestling tie-in, I actually went to SummerSlam in New Jersey this past summer and took a field trip out to the Lindbergh house in Hopewell, New Jersey, which was only about an hour away. So true crime and wrestling in the same weekend. It was great.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, that's a great combination.
What would a wrestler who's obsessed with true crimes finisher be?
I don't want to say the crippler because the crossface.
Oh no!
Oh, yeah.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Right, yeah, no. I mean, I don't know thematically that I would give him a Von Erich claw. You know, then you can just hold people down by the head and ask him whatever questions he wants. But so. That's what.
And last year on my anniversary show, I did the Sam Shepard murder case, and he became a pro wrestler after he was released from prison and invented the mandible claw. So it does have a true crime connection.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Sam Shepard. The mandible claw would be a good choice, but it's so iconic with Mick Foley. I don't know that anyone else would do it. But that's cool. Now, where can people catch The Trail Went Cold?
You can go to my website at trailwentcold.com, and I have an archive of nearly 500 episodes, so if you are starting from scratch, you'll have a long binge to do.
Will you be lost if you just start with the last one, the last murder?
No, it's probably better to do with the last one. If you start at the earlier ones, that's when I was very rough. So you listen to episodes 1 and 2, you might not want to go any further, so listen to the more recent ones where I'm more polished.
Murder is an evergreen topic, Ben.
It's not always murder. Sometimes it's missing persons.
Yeah,
Presumed murder.
When are you going to run out of cases?
And Robin,
will you
we were
be happy
talking
about it?
We were talking before we started recording about an episode you did, and I want everyone out there to listen to this episode because it's absolutely bizarre. It's episode 435 of yours, the Pearl Kongsley case. It's an old woman who gets exploded by dynamite, And there's like 3 other dynamite related crimes that happen around this story, but they're all unrelated. Apparently it's not the same dynamite. It just, every piece of that story boggles the mind, and you did a great job presenting it and keeping it clear. But I think people should go out there, start with that one, and then find what other cases you want to listen to. But they're all very much worth listening
talking
to.
About that crime ever since listening to the episode. He talks about it
it's so true
because he got away with it, and he's so proud of himself.
And Robin, are you still doing The Path Went Chilly, the companion show?
I am, yes. I do have a side show called The Path Went Chilly with 2 co-hosts named Jules and Ashley. It's kind of a director's cut of The Trail Went Cold, where we'll discuss cases that I did in the earlier years, but sometimes new developments have taken place or I've changed my thoughts on the case. And when I talk with 2 other co-hosts, we sometimes come to new insights. So it's a good companion piece.
And then they have a little comedy side show that they call The Path Went Silly.
Yeah.
That's this show.
That's really where they get the chuckles out.
It's kind of funny how the title of that thing was an inside joke, because I once made a wisecrack that if anyone wanted to rip off The Trail Went Cold, they would call it The Path Went Chilly. And then we thought, what are we going to call our new podcast? Let's do The Path Went Chilly before someone else does. So that became our real title.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, now my chili cooking podcast doesn't have a title anymore. Now we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies you think people should see. So Robin, what is a movie you think people should see?
Well, this is an exciting one because I'm recommending a movie that I am personally in. I have finally made my film debut. It's a true crime documentary called Citizen Sleuth. It made the South by Southwest Film Festival in 2023 and got good reviews, and has spent the past couple years playing in festivals. But it's finally been released on streaming on Apple, I think YouTube, Apple TV, and I think on Amazon Prime, so you can rent it. And I'm in the movie for about 4 minutes. It's got a very interesting backstory because back in 2018, I went to the CrimeCon event in Nashville, and I was approached by a young woman named Emily Nestor, who was thinking about starting a podcast about the mysterious death of a young woman that took place in her hometown in West Virginia. So she interviewed me for a little while, just kind of pick my brain to find out what it was like to start a podcast. Then later that year, she started Mile Marker 181, which became a huge hit. I think it skyrocketed to like number 14 on the iTunes charts. And then the next time I saw her, the following year at CrimeCon in New Orleans, she had a documentary crew about her who is going to be making a documentary about her journey and the case. But of course, a lot of unexpected things happen. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen the documentary yet. But there's some footage of me at CrimeCon in 2019, and there's also a scene where I talk to Emily on Zoom and discuss the case and provide my analysis on it. So I'm in there for about 3-4 minutes total, and I'm famous now. Woo!
Hey!
Was it broken up? Did you have your stopwatch out where you're just like, okay, stop. Okay, 3 to 4 minutes.
Yes. I've written down the time codes of every moment I'm on screen to tell everyone.
I would do the same thing.
I would too.
And make sure you lock your hotel rooms at CrimeCon. So seriously.
Yes.
Ironically, CrimeCon's the safest place you can be.
Because everyone's committed crimes. I see it. Schlenzo, what is your recommendation?
Well, Maynard, what's the worst that could happen? Is the name of my recommendation, which is very, very tenuously related to this because it stars Danny DeVito and Martin Lawrence. Yes, can you believe they thought Martin Lawrence was going to be a thing in the early 2000s? It's remarkable, really. So what this film is actually about is Martin Lawrence is a would-be, he's a very successful thief, an art thief, smash and grabs, goes into houses, steals things, burglaring, cat burglar, there it is. And one day he tries to steal from Danny DeVito, but Danny DeVito ends up stealing from him. So they end up doing this whole back and forth kind of thing throughout the whole movie. And when I was watching, I was like, my God, it felt like this movie is like exactly from like 1998 with all the references they're making to AOL and other 90s ephemera. To find out it came out in 2001, it occurred to me, this could be the quintessential pre-9/11 movie. No. Because nothing would feel like this ever again. Possibly for good, but possibly for bad. Nothing But Trouble is streaming. Not Nothing But Trouble. That's a completely different movie we've talked about before. What's wrong with me? What's the worst that could happen? I could get the movie's name wrong. What's the worst that could happen is streaming. Where else will you find garbage of this fine vintage but Tubi? Support your local library.
Thank you, Tubi.
I was shouting a whole bunch, but then I realized I was on mute, so never mind.
Oh, thank God.
No, you're just really quiet like Maynard.
You wanted to defend Martin Lawrence.
No, I wanted to point out why the hell did you pick this movie?
Oh God, I know.
I remember the trailers going, I'm not going to see that fucking movie. Are you kidding?
It's atrocious.
And I had no taste whatsoever at the time. I saw everything. I looked at that trailer, I'm like, fuck this, no way.
Yeah, no, it is. Some of those remarkably, it's painful. It is one of those ones that kind of hurts to watch.
It looks like the dental surgery I just had. It looks painful.
Oh man, yeah, I'd put it on that level. Dental surgery is a good level to put.
Ryan, would you like to make some of those witty comments and jokes now, and I can just stitch them back in the editing and drop them inside of Toto's recommendation? It won't be any trouble at all. You know, Schlenzo, I don't regularly get to take in feature films with you much anymore. And it's been wonderful. But my luck ran out recently, and we sat down to watch a movie together. You probably remember you were there. And what did I subject you to on this rare occasion of enjoying a film together? My recommendation today, 2025's Turbulence.
Yes. Oh, no, this is amazing. Keep going, man. I love this movie. A
possibly infidelitous executive is confronted by his blackmailer / accuser during a date with his wife on a hot air balloon.
Yes.
Do I know how to pick them, or do I know how to pick them?
Oh, dude, I love it.
You see, Ben, the turbulence isn't only a reference to the uncertainty and conflict the couple's relationship is going to undergo. Oh, no. It's also about the violent movement of air around the balloon. It's really deep if you think about it. Many layers. It featured who we first thought was Wish.com Catherine Zeta-Jones, but it turned out to be Olga Kurilenko, which is frankly a considerable upgrade. And someone who we at first thought was Wish.com Kelsey Grammer, but turned out to actually be Kelsey Grammer.
That's true.
He plays the hot air balloon captain, whose safety is all but guaranteed in a survival thriller like this. I could understand his participation if it meant he was actually able to learn how to fly a hot air balloon as part of the production, but that wasn't the case because almost every scene was rendered digitally. Not a single balloon used in the production. Picture a thriller that takes place entirely on the roof of the building in the movie The Room, and you're just about there. This turbulence is tearing me apart! And
why does it sound like a thriller starring Liam Neeson to me?
On that note,
he should have been
Jerry Butler movie, man.
The film will also have you Googling no less than 3 occasions. How far can a hot air balloon go with a tear in it? The answer, all the way to the scene of the crash.
Hey, Balloon Boy did okay.
If you want to check it out, 2025's Turbulence is currently available for rent or purchase at all the usual outlets. But if this thing isn't destined for Tubi, what is?
I have to agree. I believe that was the pitch. So Mary and I were looking for a movie to watch, and it said Turbulence. He goes, this is the one that takes place in a hot air balloon. I'm like, put it on.
Yeah.
So it's even goofier than the Ray Liotta Turbulence that came out in the 90s.
Possibly.
Well, the movie takes itself very seriously. They seem to think that
this
a hot
could
air
happen,
balloon
Dylan. This could happen, and you need to be prepared for it when it does.
No, it should. There's not a drop of irony in it. It's remarkable.
Yeah, it's pretty unself-aware. Big Bun, what have you got?
Continuing in my walk-emendations, and Maynard will stitch a much better name in for this at a later date.
Yes. Why don't you brainstorm a few interesting names, and I'll be happy to stitch them back in wherever you'd like.
A journey into some Chinese films that I've been wanting to, but haven't gotten to yet. I also Journey to the West from 2013, which is the name of today's film. I think as Westerners not raised with Taoism and Buddhism surrounding us every day throughout our lives, there's a level to films like this that I think we just can't access unless you move there or have someone lead you through the hand all the way through it. But when a movie starts with a giant sea monster laying waste to a multi-tiered fishing port town, where else can you go but further into the depths of imagination? The movie is a comedic adaptation of the Chinese tale with plenty of CGI monsters and action and some romance between the two leads. So maybe think of it something like a very amped up Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. We follow two demon hunters, a man and a woman, both with different backgrounds and styles when it comes to demon hunting, and they're chasing this demon pig all the way across China, leading them to a final confrontation with Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, exiled by Buddha. So in addition to CGI monster pigs and monkey men, plenty of other mythological religious figures make appearances, brought to life with mind-warping CGI. It sets the level early and then amps it up. And then amps it up again and again until we see planet-sized Buddhas putting the smackdown on a CGI monkey man that looks like the album cover to some sort of synth-rock new age 90s band or something like that. To Western eyes, it seems truly out there. But I can't help but assume that many of our films, with suddenly bringing God or Jesus in as the Deus Ex Machina, wouldn't feel similarly inaccessible to Easterners. I think the point of the story is Buddhism beats Taoism, but I readily invite more informed listeners to fill me in on my understanding, because the only way you learn is by asking questions.
Is it streaming anywhere, Ben?
Tubi probably, but I don't remember.
Hey!
Let's just say Tubi. It's easier.
I like to think there's like an intern from Tubi who listens to us. Like, okay, we gotta get this one.
Ryan, why don't you send us on home?
My trucko-bendation this week is the latest picture from Noah Baumbach called J. Kelly. It follows an astronomic acting superstar played by George Clooney, who follows his daughter to Italy via train, only to reckon with past issues, both industry-wise and personal, in his memory palace. Adam Sandler, for good measure, also plays his beleaguered agent dealing with a crisis of confidence. I know that Baumbach made a film between this and Marriage Story, but this would make for the ideal double feature. But regardless how things shook out, Baumbach's lovely and brilliant partner Greta Gerwig shows up for about 5 minutes, always appreciated. Same goes for Stacy Keach, who is not romantically involved with Baumbach. It was weird watching this film about a delinquent father because my own dad is a dead ringer for Clooney, and I have evidence to provide if needed. But I was able to dial into what this film was dishing out. It's like 8.5, but much more reserved and real. J. Kelly is currently streaming exclusively on Netflix. Yuck.
Is that comedy Adam Sandler or drama Adam Sandler?
It is dramedy Adam Sandler.
Is that good?
Yes, very good.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. Because he did threaten to never do another good one, so I wouldn't.
No, he said he was going to do 50 films and 25 of them would be good.
He said when he didn't get the Oscar, he was never going to make another good one again. That's what he said.
Yeah, but he turned around and did Herbie Halloween right out the gate. I mean, what a
Hubie
fail
Halloween.
there, man. Hubie!
Oh, now we don't like it anymore. But with that, we are all at a show. We want to thank our guest, Robin Warder, for joining us. Thank you so much, Robin.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. I think this is my 5th appearance on the show, so I'm always glad to be here.
Have you squared off against all of us yet?
The schedule, he keeps facing me.
Yeah, that's not
I think I do Dylan every time.
No, I know we did one. We did Last House on the Left, I think.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
And we've done Ready to Rumble.
Okay, so you just need Ryan.
Oh, that's right.
You just need Ryan to punch out the card.
Okay, we'll do that next time.
You gotta
we'll
prosecute a movie Ryan loves. That's pretty much that's how that's gonna happen. So,
Okay.
Start by looking up who this Noah Baumbach character is.
Yes,
We'll go from
find
there.
something you hate there. Wes Anderson.
I'm actually not a Wes Anderson
other
fan.
Anderson guy he likes. Paul Thomas.
Yeah,
Rob,
I
we've
need
been
an
friends
excuse.
for 6 years, and you still don't know a goddamn thing about me, do you?
You like that other Anderson?
Well, at least he knows your name.
Anderson. There's like a million directors named Anderson. Ryan likes all of them. But we're going to have you back, Robin, very soon. And we hope everyone else will join us as well as the Reels of Justice keep turning.
Count it.
I love you, Robert.
Who?
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.